We rented the house because it was cheap, and because none of us believed in the kind of stories people tell after something bad happens. It sat at the edge of town, where the streetlights thinned out and the trees leaned in close, a two-story place with peeling paint and windows that reflected too much light at night. The landlord told us the previous owner had died peacefully, which we accepted without question, because peaceful explanations are easier to live with. The first few weeks passed normally, full of late-night movies, half-finished homework, and the comforting noise of other people existing nearby. It wasn't until we noticed the noises that things started to feel wrong. Footsteps moved through the house after midnight, even when everyone was accounted for. Slow and deliberate, like someone pacing while thinking. Doors creaked open on their own and stopped just short of slamming, as if whoever opened them wanted us to notice without making it obvious. We joked about it at first, blaming old wood and bad wiring, but the joke stopped when the footsteps started responding to us. If someone whispered, the footsteps paused. If someone ran upstairs, the footsteps followed just behind, always one room away. The fear became real the night Mark didn't come back from the bathroom. We heard him laughing in the hallway, mid-sentence, before the laugh cut off abruptly, like someone had covered his mouth. When we opened the door, the hallway was empty, except for a faint smear of blood along the baseboard leading toward the basement. The basement door was open, even though we always kept it locked. The smell hit us first, damp earth mixed with something metallic and warm. We found Mark at the bottom of the stairs, twisted at an angle no living body should ever hold, his eyes open and fixed on the ceiling, like he'd seen something descending toward him. Panic fractured the group instantly, turning friends into shouting strangers, arguing over what to do next. Someone wanted to call the police, while someone else insisted we'd be blamed because no one would believe us. The house seemed to listen as we argued, the walls popping softly, the floorboards shifting as if adjusting their weight. That was when the front door slammed shut on its own and locked. The footsteps returned, louder now, running instead of walking, circling us from room to room. Lights burst overhead and died in quick succession, plunging sections of the house into darkness, while others stayed brightly lit like traps. One by one, people were dragged screaming into shadows that closed around them unnaturally, arms yanked from hallways, legs disappearing through door frames that shouldn't have been able to hold a body. I survived by crawling through a window and running until my lungs burned and my vision blurred. When police entered the house later, they found no bodies, no blood, and no sign anyone had ever lived there at all. The house still stands, freshly painted now, waiting for the next group that doesn't believe in stories. My brother started acting strange after he took a night job driving deliveries outside the city. He stopped sleeping normally and flinched at sudden sounds, like someone expecting to be caught. At first, I assumed it was stress or exhaustion, the kind that creeps up quietly and ruins people from the inside. The first time he mentioned the man on the road, he laughed it off like a bad joke. He said some guy kept appearing on the same stretch of highway every night, standing too close to the shoulder and staring at passing cars. The second time he brought it up, he wasn't laughing anymore. He told me the man never moved, never waved, never reacted, just watched with a stillness that felt deliberate. One night, my brother stopped talking mid-sentence and stared at the wall like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. He finally admitted he'd picked the man up weeks earlier when the road was empty and his conscience got the better of him. He said the man smelled wrong, like soil and cold air, and never blinked during the entire drive. Halfway through the ride, the man asked my brother how fast someone could die if they were pushed out at full speed. My brother laughed nervously and told him to get out, but the doors wouldn't unlock. The man smiled and told him the road needed witnesses sometimes. My brother said he blacked out and woke up parked on the shoulder with blood on his hands and no memory of stopping. The next night, the man was back on the road, watching again. My brother realized then that he hadn't killed him. He'd helped him. Every night after that, accidents were reported along that highway. Single car crashes with no clear cause. My brother started driving slower, hoping to avoid the road entirely, but the man always appeared anyway. The night my brother finally confessed everything to me, he said the man was in the back seat listening. I didn't believe him until I saw the indentation in the cushion behind his head. My brother walked outside to show me the car and never came back. Police found his vehicle abandoned on the highway, with the engine still warm and the driver's door open. Sometimes, when I drive late at night, I see someone standing on the shoulder who looks exactly like my brother. I took the night shift because it paid a little more, and because I liked the quiet. The way the roads emptied out and the world felt smaller and easier to manage when most people were asleep. Driving after midnight felt like slipping behind the scenes of life, where gas stations hummed softly, streetlights flickered without witnesses, and the radio voices sounded like they were speaking directly to me. There was one stretch of highway I couldn't avoid, a long, straight road cutting through trees so dense they swallowed sound and cell service at the same time. Locals called it cursed, in the lazy way people label things they don't want to think about too hard. And I told myself that accidents happened everywhere, and stories just filled in the gaps. The first time I saw him, he was standing on the shoulder just past mile marker 18, facing traffic with his hands at his sides, like he was waiting for someone specific. I slowed instinctively, noticing how still he was, how his clothes looked too clean for someone walking that road, how his eyes tracked my car before I even passed him. I didn't stop that night, but I checked my mirror longer than necessary, half expecting to see him chasing after me or gone entirely. The next night, he was there again in the exact same spot, wearing the same clothes, standing in the same posture, like the road had placed him there deliberately. By the third night, guilt crept in, mixing with curiosity, and I convinced myself that not stopping said something ugly about who I was as a person. I pulled over, rolled down the window, and asked if he needed help, already rehearsing excuses in case he made me uncomfortable. He leaned down slowly, close enough that I noticed he didn't smell like sweat or alcohol or the road, but like cold air and damp soil. He asked for a ride in a voice so calm it felt rehearsed, and before I could talk myself out of it, I unlocked the door. He climbed into the passenger seat without thanking me and sat perfectly still, hands folded neatly in his lap, eyes fixed on the windshield like he was watching something farther ahead than the road. The silence stretched until it became unbearable, and I asked where he was headed, just to prove I was still in control of the situation. He turned to look at me then, slowly, deliberately, and asked how fast someone would need to be going for a body to break instantly if it were pushed from a moving car. I laughed out of reflex, a thin, nervous sound, and told him that wasn't funny. But he didn't react at all. He just nodded and said the road didn't like uncertainty, that it preferred commitment. When I tried to pull over, my hands shaking now, the locks clicked on their own, and the engine surged forward like my foot was heavier than I remembered. My vision tunneled, my thoughts scattered, and the next thing I knew, I was parked on the shoulder, miles down the road, with my hazard lights blinking and blood drying on my knuckles. There was no sign of the man, no footprints, no explanation, just the sick certainty that something had happened while I wasn't fully present. The news the next morning reported a single-car accident along that stretch of highway. A driver found dead after veering off the road at high speed. I didn't sleep that day, or the next, and when night came again, I avoided the highway entirely, taking longer routes that doubled my drive time. It didn't matter, because when I glanced at my rearview mirror just past midnight, I saw him sitting in the back seat, head tilted slightly, watching me like he'd always been there. He told me I'd done well, that hesitation was dangerous, but obedience kept things simple. Accidents started happening more frequently after that, always near roads I drove, always involving lone drivers with no witnesses and no clear cause. I tried to quit my job, tried to stay home, tried to lock myself away from the night. But he reminded me gently that the road always collects its due. I realized too late that he wasn't forcing me to do anything, that every time I kept driving, every time I didn't scream or crash or stop, I was choosing this. The last thing he told me before stepping out of the car one night was that I didn't need him anymore, that I understood the road now. Sometimes I still see people standing on the shoulder, waiting, and sometimes I don't slow down at all.